Just rest easy, boy. You help me so as I can help you. Keep your legs in the same position. Now just rest easy.
Doc, don't hurt him. Don't do nothing to Johnny. He didn't do nothing to you. He didn't even say anything. I was the only one, remember, Doc? But I was out of my mind, you know, getting shot and all. Doc, leave Johnny alone. Leave him alone.
Maybe one of you ought to go in and see what's happening.
When a doctor wants an orderly, he'll send for one.
Well, just in case maybe
Somebody stop him! He's killing Johnny! Somebody stop him! Stop him! Stop him!
Everything all right, Doctor?
He killed him! He killed him! That dirty nigger killed him!
You shut up. Anything wrong, Doc?
He's dead.
He killed him. He killed him, I tell you. I saw him. He took it out on Johnny. He wanted it to be me, but he took it out on Johnny. I'll get you for this, you black rat. If they hang me, I'll get you for it. Johnny. 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 Oh, Johnny.
For a symptom like this to be significant, it should have an historical basis.
That's true, but the accumulation of symptoms, his confused sense of direction, running right into the policeman, the changes in his optic discs, his increased spinal fluid.
Brooks, I'm not ruling out your diagnosis of brain tumor. I'm merely indicating other possibilities.
What other possibilities?
Well, there isn't too much you can determine from the outside of a cadaver.
There is a possibility that I killed him, isn't there?
Don't be a fool.
That I was careless in the spinal tap. That his brother's Negro baiting got me down.
I don't want to ever hear you say anything like that again. You're a capable doctor. You were the doctor in charge. You did what you thought right, and there's an end to it.
Dr. Wharton, what would you have done?
Probably exactly what you did.
But you don't agree he had a brain tumor.
Well, not to the exclusion of other possibilities. How can I? A man was shot in the leg. He bled freely. He ran. He fought with a policeman. He was forcibly overcome. When you first saw him, he was gasping for breath in shock.
Yeah, possible blood clot to the lung.
A possibility. There are a half dozen more.
Is there anything else I should have done?
Well, that still depends upon what was the matter with him. And when they go out that fast...
No, I was right. I know I was right. I've got to prove it. I want an autopsy.
You're entitled to it. Unfortunately, this is one state which does not insist on an autopsy in all cases of traumatic death. We can't do a thing without permission of the family.
It's the family I've got to convince.
The brother?
Call me a murderer, said I murdered his brother in cold blood.
Every time anybody dies in a county hospital, somebody yells murder.
But it's not the same when they yell it at me.
It's got to be. You're a doctor.
They're not yelling at the doctor. They're yelling at the nigger. I've got to have that autopsy.
Who's that man?
I don't know.
Who is that man?
Him? He's another brother, George Biddle. He's deaf and dumb. He come up about 5 minutes ago.
What's he doing here?
Oh, he asked downstairs about his brothers, and they sent him up. I'll let him stick around. He wanted to claim the body in case you said it was okay to release it.
Well, it's not okay. Get him out of here.
Louis, get the dummy out.
I'm Dr. Wharton, chief medical resident of this hospital.
All right, Doc.
Your brother had no right to be here. Communication with prisoners is forbidden except by direct permission.
Oh, I'm sure George didn't mean no harm. He's just a poor deaf and dumb guy, and, well, he was kind of broken up about Johnny. Him and Johnny was always very close. That's what he was telling me, Doc. How he misses Johnny. Now that Johnny's gone.
I understand you created quite a rumpus when Dr. Brooks was doing his best to save your brother's life. If you give us any more trouble, you'll be put under restraint. Is that clear?
Yeah, Doc.
Dr. Brooks is in charge here, and you're expected to cooperate with him.
Whatever you say.
Now, about your brother. He was undoubtedly dying as he entered this hospital. I don't think anything could have prevented his death.
Well, he was shot in the leg, wasn't he, Doc? Same as me?
The gunshot was probably not the cause of his death.
Uh-huh. Well, I was only wondering, because if it was, then why ain't I dead, too?
Your brother was a sick man.
Johnny?
In order to determine the exact extent of that illness, we'd like permission to perform an autopsy.
You mean cut him up, cut Johnny up?
Well, it's the only way we can determine the exact
No,
cause.
he's had enough.
But if there's any doubt in your
No.
own mind...
He's dead. Leave him alone.
I'll talk to the chief in the morning. He might ask the coroner to requisition the autopsy.
Thank you.
Good night.
Dr. Brooks. Would you come here a minute? My brother George is quite a guy. He's a dummy, but he's got eyes like an eagle. He can read lips a block away. He can read what people are thinking almost. And you got big, fat lips. You're a pushover for George.
Well?
Want to know what he really told me? Huh? He told me everything you and your boss talked about. How he wasn't sure at all you did the right thing to Johnny. How maybe he thinks you did the wrong thing. How he doesn't care whether you murdered my brother or not. Just forget it. But you ain't gonna forget it, Rastus.
I did the right thing. An autopsy will prove it.
Ain't gonna be no autopsy, not on Johnny. His pals wouldn't like it. Beaver Canal, it's full of Johnny's pals. And wait till they find out how he got killed. And by what. Yeah, I'd sure hate to be living in Niggertown these days. You live in Niggertown? Sure you do. Where else? And don't worry about the autopsy. Yours, I mean. You're gonna be wide open when they find you.
Dr. Thomas wanted in surgery. Dr. Thomas wanted in
Morning.
surgery.
Go right in, Dr. Wharton.
Morning, Sam. What's been dropped out of our budget this time?
I wish my job was as funny as you seem to think it is, Dan. Have you seen the morning papers?
Well, I thought I did. I must have missed something pretty important.
Oh, just a little item on the back page. Policeman battles gunman in rain. Policeman Edward Kowalski last night surprised 2 alleged holdup men, etc., etc. One of the brothers, John Biddle, suffering from a superficial wound in the leg, died shortly after his arrival at the county hospital. The cause of his death was not revealed. Why not?
Well, I imagine because the death certificate wasn't filed in time for the story.
Well, what caused the delay?
The doctor in charge wanted me to corroborate his findings.
What, did you agree with him?
I was satisfied that he'd done what he thought was best.
Doctor in charge was Luther Brooks?
Dr. Brooks was in charge.
Dan, this is one of those things that I wake up at night in a cold sweat about.
A grain and a half a second.
Cause of death was not revealed. They'll follow it up. Ask questions. Imply this, imply that. First thing you know, they'll whip it up into one of those hush-hush things, demanding investigation.
Selling papers.
Creating opinions.
Sam, an unimportant item on a back page.
You know what can become of an unimportant lump under the skin. Let's hope it stays that way. Fortunately, there was no mention of Brooks' name or the fact that he was a Negro.
And what if there were?
Don't be childish.
Does the fact that Luther Brooks is a Negro affect his responsibility toward this hospital? Or our responsibility toward him?
Now, wait a minute. Don't go reading any anti-Negro implications into what I say. I accepted Brooks here as an intern, and I'm all for him. Next year, I'd like another Negro intern. Maybe 2. Why, if anything, I'm pro-Negro.
I'm not. I'm pro-good doctor. Black, white, or polka dot. As chief resident, I have no more right to wax sentimental over a bad doctor because he happens to be a Negro than I have to discriminate against a good doctor because he's white, Protestant, and independently wealthy.
A very commendable scientific attitude.
It's the only scientific attitude.
No, it's not, but you can afford it because you live in that vacuum across the hall you call your office. You got on a white coat. I haven't. Public funds, public service. You think one is the direct result of the other, like an intravenous injection? Do you think all I have to do is to pick up that phone and say, send another $1 million? Do you think schools are run by educators? Do you think the police department is run by criminologists? Do you think the board of supervisors consider your serological lab equipment more important than getting themselves reelected? Why, it took me 3 months of wheedling, begging, and compromising to get you 2 hydrotherapy units. For the same amount of money, the mayor could have bought 300 bird baths with his name on each one of them. Hold on to that white coat, Dan. Don't change it for one like mine. Sam Moreland, M.D. Means something different now. Means master of double talk. Let's hope that this doesn't start something. You've got a couple of important appropriations coming up against strong opposition. And the difference between winning and losing can be the fact that Brooks is a Negro.
Brooks wants you to authorize an autopsy.
There's a brother in custody, isn't there? Get his permission.
He won't give it. He claims Brooks deliberately murdered his brother. The orderlies tell me he's as vicious a Negro hater as they've ever seen, on the verge of being psychotic about it. Brooks is pretty upset. He feels that an autopsy will justify his diagnosis, even to this hoodlum.
In your official capacity, have you any reason for dissatisfaction with the manner in which Brooks handled the case?
No.
Then in my official capacity, I feel that the welfare of the institution would be best served by forgetting the incident as quickly as possible. Tell Brooks how much I regret the necessity of rejecting his request.
Right.
Oh, Dan. You've transferred Brooks from duty in the prison ward, of course.
No, I haven't. In my official capacity, I found no reason for transferring him. As a matter of fact, he should just about have finished removing the bullet from Ray Biddle's leg.
So that's the slug that gave me the business, huh?
When that Procaine wears off, you may have some pain. We'll give you something for it.
I can take it.
And stay off that leg as much as you can. Can't afford to lose much more blood.
You're gonna come in and look it over every now and then, ain't you, Doc?
Doctor, there's a scalpel missing. There are only 2 here.
Sure you had 3?
Very sure. Can't understand it. Must be here somewhere.
Just keep looking. We'll find it.
A scalpel of all things. We just can't have one loose in the prison ward, Doctor.
Where is it?
Where's what?
The scalpel, you took it.
I wouldn't know a scalpel from a stomach